Okay, we're sitting here doing a series of events while the three-legged cat moves up and down out of the screen. I'm sitting here with
Just coming to
Geoffrey
say
West,
hello.
and we're in Costa Rica, and I can't pronounce the name of where we're at, but it's probably not that important. We're up in Charapo Mountain somewhere on a mountain close
Right near
range.
the highest peak in Costa Rica. So
Yeah.
pretty much near the base of the highest peak in Costa
Yeah,
Rica.
and doing the first interview or the first segment, which was about 7 or 8, maybe 10 minutes or so, we covered humanity and then talking about a symbiotic connection. One of the things I want to talk to you about, what inspired you? I mean, what made you, you know, push this book out? I'm sure it was a birth of love.
Yeah.
How long did it resound in your spirit before you started putting black writing to white paper?
Well, what inspired me? Well, events such as the car horn that you might be hearing off in the distance right now. I'm getting very tired of these kinds of three-dimensional distractions. You know, growing up as a child, I experienced so much, and
And where was that by?
in the middle part of Canada,
Okay.
province of Ontario, right on the shore of Georgian Bay. So a small town called Parry Sound. Many people will know Bobby Orr as a hockey player,
Oh yeah.
and all the experiences that I went through, from being bullied at school, getting into musicals as part of the music department, singing in the choirs, taking up badminton as a sport to play. And why badminton? Why not some other sport? Why musicals? Why not something else? Everything in life prepares us uniquely for the journey that is to follow. And if we learn our lessons from those experiences, we then experience the freedom to move on to the next experience. My life path, I can trace almost everything from my childhood right up to now, that I can see how it has prepared me to communicate the message that I am now communicating to you. So the inspiration has really been my entire life path. Somewhere at a higher level, I probably signed on to a karma contract that told me that I am to fulfill a role that is somewhat larger in perspective. Now, when I say somewhat larger, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is more important or less important. So I talk about my sister and I use her and I as an example. Her life path role was to have her children and to be in service to her children, to be there to help them develop and grow the best that she could give for them. We are distinctly different souls. I love to travel. I'm independent and out in the world. She's not. She's more of a family homebody. She wants to have her kids. She wants to commit herself to her family, and both are equally beautiful.
Absolutely.
Her truth.
Absolutely.
In other words, if she didn't do her mission, I probably would not have good people to communicate to. So no matter how much someone says that, oh, you're doing all this big thing,
Right.
well, big is relative. So to the individual who is, thank you very much, blessings, to the individual who perceives his or her life as quote unquote meaningless, is perhaps missing the essence and the beauty of his or her unique life path. And we have a tendency to judge ourselves from the filters that I talked about in part 1: race, religion, culture, age, gender, orientation, political belief, class, physical and mental capacity.
Religion.
Yeah. So from those filters, which we have been conditioned to be under, we have a tendency to judge. And we're moving into a consciousness level, an energetic level, where we're being called to release that, to see that one's role, no matter how big or small as perceived by individuals, is fulfilling a distinctly divine purpose in what is now unfolding.
Yes, absolutely. And you talk about that in your chapter 2, awakening humanity to who and what we are.
Exactly.
And so that is something that is transpiring throughout the globe.
Yes. Many souls are having difficulty making the transition. We're moving energetically from what is now known as a linear time, three-dimensional perspective to a higher vibrational existence. Most people who are hearing a message like this for the first time are the barrier, the skin is starting to go up on the back of the neck. They're starting to tense up, and I know they will, because I did this when I first started to grow. Hearing a message like this,
I as well.
For the first time, when you're not quite ready for step 3, when you jump into step 3 without having done steps 1 and 2, your barriers of protection immediately want to go up. You immediately become defensive. How can you talk about, oneness? I'm a proud Canadian, or I'm a proud Irishman, or whatever it is that come from. Our instinct is to fall back on our defense mechanisms, to defend our ego, but also the control dramas, because our energetic needs in the world or within our bodies have not been met. We've been controlled and dominated by elitist groups and dark cabal energies to the point where we have been unable to connect with what is truly us. We've been unable to receive the energies from the universe that are our sustenance for survival. And the cabal and the elitists have tried to tell us that our survival depends upon following them and being under their control. So we develop these emotional control dramas. James Redfield, in his book, The Celestine Prophecy, uses the term control dramas. Personally, that's a term I resonate with. It feels good to me. Eckhart Tolle talks about pain bodies, and I don't resonate as fully to that term.
That's strange, because I kind of felt that too when I read Tolle. It didn't resonate with me as much as Redfield's book resonated with me in terms of connecting.
Right.
In terms of the religious dogma or the scientific interpretations. You talk a little bit about that in chapter 2.
Yes.
How do you feel when I was first really introduced to the dogma, the religious dogma, because I had been 20 years in religion, and as a young man I had said, well, hey, religion is a dogma, Christ was just a way shower. How do you think people are going to be able to connect to this message of this symbiotic relationship that we should all be connected to? How do you
there's a couple of videos which will probably be done in the very near future with you and I offer several analogies that attempt to tell a story of how people can begin to interpret their relationship to life. In my book, I've also written a poem called The Star.
Yes,
The Star.
Yes.
And there's a very deep meaning. I had no idea when I first wrote this poem many years ago. It's about 10 years old now. I had no idea how deep the words. It's a very simply written poem, but the people who have read it in the last few months have looked at me and said, do you understand just how deep this poem really is? And it has a play on words. You can look at a star in the very physical sense, the stars that we see up in the sky. You hear the term star as in a Hollywood celebrity, and you interpret that with some form of light. So, the story in the poem is a little star up in the sky, a space or a celestial star, having a dream, a desire, a literally burning desire to share its love and its light with the rest of the world. Now, for many of you who understand astronomy and science, you've heard of the phenomena called a supernova. So that is a change taking place within the star where the star transforms into something else. So this little star wanted to move its energy, wanted to push it out and actually have an impact on a much larger space around it. So the star went supernova. And then all of a sudden, it's feeling bright, it's feeling happy because it honored itself. It had that message, it had the truth within itself to get that courage to turn everything within it and send it out into the world with love, unconditionally. And at that point, the star felt happy, it felt proud, it had done what it felt it came here to do. And then I turned the poem around and I put the story onto people. As you awaken to your truth, as you begin to see the power that you truly have within yourself, and can find the courage to connect to that regardless of what anyone else says around you, and you can step out with confidence and with courage to be that truth with the best ability that you can be. You have begun planting the seeds of your light and your truth within the seeds of consciousness. And this is what so many people around the world have now begun to do. They are now connecting to that divine power and that truth within, and they are beginning to step out and share exactly the message that they came here to share. And it will have an impact on one person, it'll have an impact on 1 million people. Whatever their mission and their truth is at this time, people are answering that call. So, whatever star someone chooses to become, be it a star, like my sister, to answer the call to her children, or to be a celebrity Hollywood star who is able to share his or her wealth in ways that will affect our planet and humanity's consciousness.
That divine purpose.
That divine purpose
that you
to send it out.
Talk about.
Exactly.
In chapter 2, I think it's understanding the human energy,
right.
Where we came from.
Yes.
And sort of like some say, my path of consciousness, my dharma, my mantra, my purpose, so forth and so on.
Yes.
To connect it, all of those are synonymous. We're talking with Geoffrey West. We're talking about his Greenprint For Life, as one of our four-legged friends sounds off with an announcement.
Wants to send a message of peace and love to the world too.
Absolutely.
Our animal community wants to be represented.
Absolutely. And we'll continue this conversation.
Yes.
We'll talk some more with Geoffrey West.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.